Hey guys, it's Sam, and welcome to Caps Lock, a podcast designed to help you live bigger, better, louder, and longer. Before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for listening and for giving this a chance and for coming here in pursuit of your best self. This is a space where we are going to grow together, and I hope that it helps you go forward confidently, unapologetically, and with purpose. It's time to live your life in Caps Lock. If that mission feels aligned for you, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. Today's guest is a doctor specializing in anti-aging, longevity, and functional and regenerative medicine here in New York City. For over 23 years, he has been using an integrative, evidence-based approach to help patients optimize their health, improve their performance, and heal from illness and injury. He believes in mixing traditional medicine with alternative medicine to customize his patients' treatment plans, often combining lifestyle changes, supplements, and prescriptions as needed to feel and live better for longer. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Glamour, Elle, Forbes, Business Insider, Well and Good, and more. And today he's here with us to tell us everything we need to know about GLP-1s. Is it really a miracle drug? Can anyone use it? What are the side effects? What's the long-term impact? All that and more. Stay with us and make sure to send this episode to anyone you know who's on a GLP-1 or who's considering a GLP-1, because today we're going to get the real tea. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the show Dr. Neil Palvin. Hi,
Thanks.
Doctor.
Thanks for having me. This should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. This is like a very hot topic with our audience. I'm sure you have a lot of questions from women my age and actually probably all ages about this.
22 to 92.
Yeah. Okay, I figured. Here on Caps Lock, and I speak for myself and my audience, we're big fans of your approach, where it's, custom treatments, person to person, understanding that not everything works for every patient, functional, traditional, hybrid, diet and lifestyle changes, maybe before prescriptions, but not instead of prescriptions necessarily. So I think this is going to be a great conversation, and I really appreciate you spending our morning together. But I want to start by taking it all the way from the top and talking about what actually a GLP-1 is, like what it's made of, what the ingredients are, and feel free to read us the science textbook.
Sure. And luckily, right now, the brands are very simple at this point. What we have out there, the ones that we have from 20 years ago, and now we've kind of morphed into the ones with stronger effects, stronger effects, potentially less side effects. And the next 2 or 3 years will be probably 10 more that are even better and cooler.
Right.
We'll get that at the end. So we naturally have GLP-1 and GIP, which are the two main incretins that we have in our gut and throughout our body that produce these effects. We have them in our body naturally.
Okay.
These medicines help us to amplify those effects and regulate, and eventually we'll be able to kind of pick and choose in the next couple of years which ones we're trying to work on, but we're not there yet. The main way, we started with the GLP-1s, which are the ones that people may know as Wegovy and Ozempic. And those were the GLP-1s where they're mostly working on improving our body's ability to produce insulin, which helps our body work with sugar.
Okay.
Limit the production of glucagon, which raises our sugar. It also is going to help us feel satiated or feel full sooner. It does that really in two ways. It's going to help us feel fuller in terms of making the gut, your stomach empty slower, so you feel fuller for a longer period of time. This is probably the etiology of a lot of the side effects that people felt: nausea, bloating, constipation. And there's ways around that, but some people didn't like that.
Because food is literally staying in your stomach for longer.
Exactly. Yes. You may feel a little bloated because you're a lot of different reasons. You could feel, sometimes unless you take a lot of fiber with it, you're not getting as much water into the gut to help it move as quickly. You're not eating as much to push things through. A lot of different causes there. And also works on the brain to make your brain just say, ooh, I'm full.
Right.
It's like turning on that full switch in the brain.
And that's when people talk about like, oh, my food noise quieted down a little bit.
If I had $1 for every time I've heard that, I would never have to work again.
No,
that was never a term I heard before. And then it is perfectly worded.
Yeah.
It's also great that because it's kind of led into people who have like addictive food behaviors, binging food or just have night cravings. and really never had an answer. I had patients who actually had like literally locked their cabinets.
Wow.
Now can take a GLP-1 and they have had that food noise totally go away.
Yeah.
Which is great. Again, I love medicines that solve a problem that we haven't been able to solve before. And that's what's great about all these meds. They solve a lot of different issues that there is no medicine out there for.
Yeah.
And then we kind of added in the GIP, which is what people know as Mounjaro, Zepbound, and there'll be a bunch more coming out in the next year or two.
So that's different than GLP-1.
GLP-1, GIP is kind of a nice little add-on. It's like the little extra special sauce where it helps kind of amplify the body's ability to produce insulin. It helps amplify in the brain, especially that shutting down the food noise. There's you have GLP-1 receptors throughout the body, the heart, the brain, the gut, and the blood vessels, so on and so forth.
Wow.
There's also special GIP receptors throughout. And that really helps to kind of turn off that food noise, helps to amplify the body's ability to regulate insulin. People may have heard the term insulin resistance, or that we know that's a cause of everything from obesity to PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it just kind of adds very gently adds a little bit of oil to, or I guess not oil to fire, it's the other way around. It adds that special sauce to make it taste work even better.
Got it.
And what's great with the GIP is that we're finding that it does, because of the way it works and the way that the GLP-1 and the GIP kind of tag team together, they're kind of like, I'm going to really date myself, like Transformers. They work better, more powerful together than they are separately.
Yeah.
And you get less side effects. You get less nausea, less bloating. With Ozempic, you can get hair loss. Unfortunately, had a couple patients have, when we were kind of going too fast with the dosing, people would have profuse diarrhea, which obviously is not what you want with a medication, no matter how good it is. So now we've gotten less side effects with the meds like Mounjaro and Zepbound, which are the combos.
Yeah.
And then as we go on, they're going to be adding more and more things, more and more fun abbreviations to make it even better.
Totally. Okay, so tell me if I'm right. The Ozempic and the Wegovy, it's just GLP-1.
Exactly.
And the Mounjaro, the Zepbound, that's GLP-1 plus GIP.
Exactly.
It's not GIP instead.
No, it's a combo.
Okay. When you do the shot, whatever it is, what actually is inside the syringe? Like, what is it? What are the ingredients?
It's an agonist.
Okay.
It works on it's the actual GLP-1 to work on those receptors. You have it in you. This is amplifying the effects of the GLP-1.
Got it. So it just boosts what your body would already naturally be doing if it
adds
were working.
on. It adds on.
Okay.
It's like somebody's giving you already have $10. Here's another $100.
Got it. Wow, that's so interesting. What was the original intended purpose of the GLP-1? I mean, and I guess who was the target audience? I feel like I heard that it was originally a diabetes medication.
Yeah, that was it. It was a lot of medicines we found for 50 years has been kind of an like side effect. Like minoxidil, which a lot of men and women use for hair loss, was a blood pressure medicine. And then, ooh, wow, it grows hair. Cool.
Right. Like I think myself and a lot of other girls who listen to the podcast have been on spironolactone, also a blood pressure medication for our skin.
Exactly. So sometimes it's just a perfect surprise.
Yeah.
So these were used as add-on diabetic medications because people didn't want to be on insulin, other medications.
Right.
And now they said, wow, these patients are losing 5, 10, 50% of their body weight and not having major side effects from it. Let's deep down the rabbit hole. And that's how they kind of came to be. And that's why, just to kind of answer what the question is probably going to come up, people make it sound like, oh my God, some of these meds are unsafe. They're this or that. They're the devil. We've been using them for diabetes for 15 years.
Right.
And not major issues. It's just now, if you use them the right way, in the right dosing and for the right person, it's fine.
Right.
But again, so they've been around for a while. It's not like they just came out when Ozempic came out.
Right. And theoretically, they wouldn't have gone down the path of using them for cosmetic weight loss if they were seeing all these issues in diabetics,
exactly,
right? Like,
exactly.
There's one thing where it's like, okay, this has a necessary evil side effect, but like it's helping people live longer because of their diabetes versus like, this is harming people, we shouldn't do it. So that makes total sense to me. So a question that I hear a lot from my followers is, or not even a question, but kind of a statement that I'm turning into a question is like, I want to go on a GLP-1, but then I'm afraid I'll have to take it for the rest of my life. And I've heard two different stories, right, that are told over and over by people who have been on the drug. And one story that you hear sometimes is like, I took it and then I went off of it and then I gained back the same weight that I lost plus more. And then there's the other side of the story where some people say, I've been off of it since April and I've only gained back like a tenth of the weight. Like I really could do the rest of my life like this. So does it vary person to person, or is it common for people to gain back all the weight after they go off? This episode is brought to you by Whoop. Whoop is the only wearable that turns your health and fitness data into personalized guidance. I've been wearing my Whoop for over 2 years now, and I can confidently say that the new model is an amazing upgrade. The new device is 7% smaller than the previous model, and the new battery lasts for 2 full weeks before you need to recharge. But those aren't even my favorite features. First, Whoop now tracks women's cycles with hormonal insights. We talk about our hormones all the time on Caps Lock, and we know how much they affect our health and wellness, not to mention our day-to-day experience of the world. This is huge. Second, the new Whoop includes a feature called Health Span, which tells you your physiological age and how your daily habits impact your pace of aging. Then gives you custom advice for slowing your pace of aging and ultimately lowering your Whoop age. And third, Whoop now offers heart health features, including on-demand blood pressure and ECG readings, so you can check in on your heart anytime and share results with your healthcare provider. This is important for everyone, but especially as my loved ones start to get older, I've gotten them all on the new Whoop because it could literally be a lifesaver. You know how I feel about my health, proactive and preventative. And the new Whoop is my #1 teammate in wellness. Join now at join.whoop.com/Samantha Fair. That's join.whoop.com/Samantha Fair.
Now it's not common for most people to gain back all the weight.
Okay.
We know in studies, and again, we're getting smarter and smarter with the meds of how to dose them, how to get people off of it. So it's not common to gain all the way back, and except in people where I hear it more and more. And this is the type of comment I get in like my DMs or emails. Well, I just want to lose 10 pounds. I don't want to do anything. They don't want to work out. They don't want to eat well. They just think it's a replacement for everything.
Right.
Those are the people, because you're kind of just taking something super strong. And then when you take it away, your body's like, ooh, what do I do now? So that you may have a dramatic rebound.
Right. And you're not making lifestyle changes or habit changes or changes to your mentality. So like, how could you sustain this weight loss if you're going to go right back to your habits?
So that's the first category. The second category we have are the patients who, we know in the studies that patients do potentially gain back at least up to a third of the weight. Okay. We're getting much smarter now, again, on optimizing patients' health, lifestyle, and how to get them off. So I don't see that as much personally. And a lot of the doctors who are really, again, personalizing the program, we don't see that as much. The only caveat's going to be, and you kind of mentioned already, is that there are a lot of people in the population, men and women, who think it's a way to get to that quote unquote perfect weight. And that's been, it's a social media thing. That's a personal thing in our era now, where that's where things get a little murky. People say, well, I want to be at X weight. I get that a lot now. Right. They have that number in their head no matter what. I was that weight 20 years ago. This medicine can get me that weight. In some cases, that works perfectly, and we can wean you off, and you may gain a pound or two back just because this is, in a way, best and worst way of saying it, it's a perfect medicine. It's slowing your emptying. It's making your brain feel full. You can't replicate that without the medication. There's no way to do it. You can come close if you have a really good lifestyle. So you'll gain a little bit back, and I always tell people that, especially as close you get to that weight but your body also has to live its life. I mean, so if you want to get to that weight you were 20 years ago when you're 17 years old, 21 years old in college, that was great when you're in 21. You had a faster metabolism, your hormones were at perfect levels, you're working out 5 times a week. You're 37 now, your hormones are declining no matter what, so it's not as perfect. So, but then the main answer is right now, if you go to the minimum dose to achieve your goals. Initially, a lot of people, docs still do it now, is they try to ramp up to the high dose just so the patients get what they want
quickly.
And that totally messes with your endocrine system. And then you bring people down either too quickly or you just stop them. Like I wean people down to the lowest dose I can before I take them off. So their body can slowly kind of get back to doing what they normally would do. Yeah. So if you do things right and you have fair expectations and you maintain your lifestyle, you will not have a huge bounce back in most cases. The last thing I'll say is if some patient, male or female, like it's easy in a female, women who has like polycystic ovarian syndrome, where there's inherent insulin resistance is part of the issue, you need to fix that problem. Otherwise, you may have that kind of like that seesaw up and down effect.
Right. And we are big, like, underlying root cause girlies here at the podcast. Like, we talk all the time about how, like, part of why I'm so interested in your approach, where you, like, tell people to make lifestyle changes and do all these things, maybe in addition to medication or before trying medication, is because Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes, and, like, just masking a symptom doesn't heal you long term. It just, like, prolongs the problem or suppresses the manifestation of the problem on the surface. I have a couple of follow-up questions from what you said. Number one, you were saying something about, like, your hormone levels and the endocrine effects of the Ozempic, or of all the semaglutides, I guess. Can you explain what it does to your endocrine system?
What I mean by that is, we know, but especially with insulin, your hormones, the line you'll hear at any medical conference about hormones, your hormones are a symphony. They all have to coordinate well together. So we know insulin, if you're insulin resistant, or your insulin is not working the way it should, it affects testosterone levels, which men and women need. It affects estrogen levels. It affects your thyroid hormone. And also, if you're not eating, and I've seen that as we're just not eating anything, which is what we're trying to fight too. You need nutrients no matter what you want to do, especially if you do want to work out and lift weights, which is one of the things you need to do to combat any of the side effects. So we see that patients who don't eat anything and they don't have the nutrients to make those hormones, and then it becomes a giant hormone snowball. Yeah. So it's not as much of a direct effect yet. I mean, it does calm down. GLP-1s also work on inflammation or anti-inflammatory, so they're calming down. They lower your blood pressure. So all those the effects of the GLP-1s are going to affect your hormones in good ways. Yeah. But there also could be too dramatic effect. But in most cases, it's kind of that symphony type of philosophy. Yeah,
I think early on when people were first kind of using these for cosmetic reasons, it was a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I started seeing it kind of in my circles just a little bit. And I had friends saying that they were having trouble getting pregnant, and then they went on Ozempic or Wegovy or whatever, and then got pregnant. Is that something you guys have seen?
Yes.
And that is related?
Yes. So, I mean, I deal with a lot. It's become, fortunately or unfortunately, fertility's become a big common topic for females now, even younger and younger. And it used to just be, it's the egg thing and that's all you can do. Now we know, again, I keep saying the same thing, insulin resistance. Yeah. So GLP-1 is working on that. It also, we are finding women not only who it improves their fertility, we have women, I've seen women from 20 to 40 who never had a cycle, had irregular menstrual cycles, and then within a month or two, their cycles will normalize because of that hormone effect. Yeah. So that's what we're seeing as well. So all that will improve their fertility. Then you want to go down the deep rabbit hole. Again, it works on inflammation, which may be affecting the ovary and your fertility. It works on your mitochondria, which is the energy, the battery part of your cells, and damage to that mitochondria affects fertility. So that one medication will do the work of like 3 or 4 things that we would do otherwise to help women who are having any type of fertility conversation. Yeah. So we know why it happens. We're still waiting on. This is one of the, not the concerns, but this is one of the big things you see on social media now, is that the companies are driving what studies they do, and just to prove what we can prove officially. And then other people say, well, there's no study yet that shows that, so how can you do that? Right. We know the science, we've seen it, we can prove it. Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, you have friends who do. I've had hundreds of patients, other of my colleagues have as well, where we know it works on numerous parts of a women's hormone system. Yeah. Instead of having to go on birth control or other more drastic hormone treatments, we can say, here's your GLP-1, we're not going to do it long term, but then again, we see it again and again and again and again, and it's just amazing. And are women able to stay on the medication while they're pregnant, or do they have to go off while they're pregnant and then go back on afterwards if they choose to? That's very independent. Okay. Usually what we're seeing is, right now at least, it's changing very slowly, is if they're going through an OB or a fertility specialist, they'll have them probably stop a week before they're going to have either an IV, they're harvesting, or before they're going to try. Okay. And then unless they're a diabetic, they'll have them come off while they're pregnant. Because we just don't know yet. Again, we know there's been diabetics who have gone through pregnancy on it. Back to kind of why we know they're safe is there's been diabetics on them for a long period of time without issues, and they get pregnant. Yeah. But usually, if there's not a diabetic issue, they don't have them on, because we just don't know yet. Just for safety, caution. And we've not seen much issues with it. Yeah, that's amazing. Another thing you mentioned in your earlier response is that there's kind of like a right way to get people off the drug. Can you explain that approach? There's a lot of right ways, but the key is definitely not if you're on, let's just use Zepbound or Mounjaro for an example. It's just people are on the higher doses, 10, 12 and a half, 15.
15 what? Milligrams?
Sorry, milligrams.
No, that's okay, yeah.
We want in the low dose is 2.5 milligrams in most cases. We try to step them down every 3 to 4 weeks to get them the lowest dose where they're still getting whatever benefits they were trying to get out of the medication. And then also we're saying, okay, you need to be doing weight training 3 to 4 times a week, optimize your protein intake, and then there are now other supplements and prescriptions that we can kind of add on if we need to for patients we are really worried about or worried about on their own. And then we say, okay, let's take you off and see how you do. And then you also now getting into the next big debate that is coming out on everywhere is quote unquote microdosing, which means something different to everybody else, where patients aren't taking the minimum dose, they're taking a half of a quarter of the minimum dose just because they can't sustain otherwise. But that's another conversation.
It totally is, and one that I want to have. But to one of your points, you were saying, you want to optimize your diet for protein and continue weightlifting. And something that I think a lot of people see in people who use one of the GLP-1s or GIPs or anything is they get like the Ozempic face, everyone's calling it, where it's like very sallow and skinny. And something that I've heard a lot is like, you're not just burning fat, you're also losing muscle. And so I don't know. I mean, I know because I'm into fitness that when you do a cut, for example, after you bulk and build all that muscle, like naturally as you burn a lot of fat, you're also going to lose a little bit of the muscle gains just because your body's working on burning. Is it kind of the same thing when you're on the GLP-1? Does it burn through a little bit of muscle?
Yeah, it does. If you're going to lose if you went on your own diet and just were able to do everything self-motivated just by health, by diet and exercise, you lose muscle. I mean, there's no way your body's going to say, oh, I'm just going to burn fat.
Right, it's not selective.
and not lose any muscle. It doesn't work that way. And they've done studies where we know that's pretty similar to what you're burning. It's maybe a little more muscle depending on the person. But yeah, now that, again, that's become kind of the add-on pack to this, and we're just not seeing the quote-unquote Ozempic everything, Ozempic face, Ozempic arms, as much, again, except on those patients who are just abusing it or going too high dose when they don't need it. I want to lose 2 pounds, but I want to be on 15 milligrams. It's like, no. And they can find it now, unfortunately, because you can get on every online site in the planet at this point. Right.
But the black market.
Yeah, exactly. There's a product called Rybelsus that's coming out soon that it's probably the most common thing I get asked about. It doesn't exist. It does not made by the pharmaceutical company yet. You can't even get it from regulated pharmacies, but everybody's asking about it.
Wow. So, why that one specifically are they asking about?
Because it's not as appetite suppressing. It also it maintains the muscle a little bit better, and it also helps with your cholesterol a little bit more. It's the superhero when it comes out.
Wow, that's really interesting. One of the things we heard early on was like, and part of the reason I think there has been kind of controversy around these drugs is that people were using it for cosmetic reasons, and there were shortages for people who actually had diabetes and health issues. It seems like that has resolved a little bit, but I see so much about shortages here, shortages there, and people panicking and calling their pharmacy like, I need this drug, like, where is it? And then the pharmacy is doing something called compounding, where they kind of like DIY. Can you explain maybe the shortage situation? Like, is that still a thing that's happening? And is it bad for the people who need it for medical reasons? And what is up with the compounding?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the shortage in most cases is not really that much of a deal anymore. Okay. All the companies have really ramped up production, and they've also offered various versions of it. So you can get, especially with Mounjaro and Zepbound, you can get the pen through regular pharmacies, and that's going to may or may not go through your insurance. And now they have through the company itself, you can get a vials of it from every dosing, and you kind of do that with the doctor's prescription, but you can kind of do that on your own, and that's really filled in the hole a little bit. Yeah. Honestly, it tends to right before the summer. There tends to be a little burst, and now with we're filming this right kind of when the holidays start coming up, that seems to be the two little major peaks. But right now there should not be a major issue anymore.
People are meeting the demand.
It's their business, supply and demand.
It's a cash cow, right?
There's plants all over the world, not just pumping it out. Yeah. In terms of compounding, and there's two levels of it I'll go to really quickly. There are compounding pharmacies that are regulated by the state and or the federal government, where they check everything to make sure it's what we say it is, and there's no toxins in it, and so on. they can make it any medicine that there's a quote unquote shortage which goes back to what you said. So they were making a lot of money on semaglutide, which is Ozempic, and Wegovy, and also making a lot of money on tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro and Zepbound. There's been insane amount of legal back and forth, and that's a whole nother conversation. So now some pharmacies are still finding the ways. Those guys are still finding ways around the loopholes. And with the advantage there's debate, is that the same? It's not the same. It's usually about 70-80% if it's a quality product.
70 to 80% as effective.
Exactly. That's what they say. You don't know what you're getting as much. You know, it's not the pure product. The advantage was initially that it was a cheaper price point, which is also kind of not as big of a deal anymore. It's actually in some cases cheaper to get from the company now. But there are still people who prefer you can get larger volume that way.
Okay.
Some people just like the compounded version of it better.
Right. It just works for them based on their
So that now it's kind of become a personal choice.
Yeah.
And then the last kind of bucket, we now have what are called research compound pharmacies, which don't have to really get regulated at all, which is a red flag to some people.
I hate that.
The advantage for some people is they do have retatrutide, which I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And some people say it's very similar, but we don't know for sure. But it also will say on the vials, not for human use. Some people will say, my friend says that I trust so-and-so on social media.
Yeah.
I'll do it anyway. Some people love the price point is a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And they just don't want, honestly, if any of them are not covered by your insurance, they could run as much as over $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Some people can't do that. And they say, well, so-and-so has it for $100 a month. It does say not for human use, but I'm willing to take that risk benefit reward.
Yeah.
Other people are like, there's no way I'll ever do that. So it's really because the only medicine I really have ever seen where it comes down to kind of that ethical or decision you have to make on your own compared to anything else ever.
Yeah. I mean, what is the weight loss worth to you? Like that to me, and I think to a lot of our listeners, just because this is what we spend a lot of our free brain space thinking about, like I can't fathom using something that's so unregulated like that, understanding that like we don't know what it does. Like that's my nightmare.
Yeah, things have changed. One of the things that happened post-COVID medical-wise is now it's probably 60-70% of this stuff is telemedicine.
Yeah.
People, especially the younger generation, they're used to doing everything on their computer, Amazon, Fresh Direct, whatever it is. Oh, I'm going to get my medicines through there. It's just so much easier than having to get an appointment at a doctor, do this, go through that whole process. And that's kind of just ingrained as being normal to them.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to understand the pluses and the minuses and making that decision. I mean, I can't tell somebody they're wrong for doing it, as long as they understand the pluses and the minuses. Yeah.
Another question I have about kind of an answer you gave earlier is we were talking about like optimizing for protein, still lifting weights to make sure you're kind of retaining a little bit of muscle mass, at a healthy amount while you're taking this medicine. But another thing that kind of not necessarily conflicts with that, but something that you see, it sounds like in your patients who use semaglutides is the food is staying in their stomachs for longer or in their GI tract for longer. And they are sometimes having like digestive issues, whether that's like constipation or like the other side of it. Right. And so like, is this okay for your colon? Like, I mean, something that we see a lot in diet culture right now and like health talk on TikTok is everyone's like protein. And they're not always eating enough fiber or don't know that they need to eat more fiber if they're eating more protein. And then we're talking about like keeping the food in your system for longer. So you're adding more protein, keeping the food in your system for longer. And I just worry that people don't know about their colon. Like, is it a risk for your colon?
Not really for the colon yet. We've not really seen any evidence as much of the colon.
Okay.
The worst, I hate the term, but the worst case scenario we're seeing is really with the stomach that there are some people, your whole gastrointestinal system is kind of like a little electrical circuit. It contracts, it pumps, and from the stomach all the way down to the end. So if some people have a little bit of slower pumping to begin with, and that's why some people get bloated or feel full sooner, a variety of things. So there are some people who have that inherently, and then we're slowing it down even more. And those are the people who have either severe constipation, severe bloating, or the term called gastroparesis, I mean the stomach really does not move at all anymore. And it can affect the pancreas as well. That's where we're concerned. That's where we're, again, advising people if they start having these symptoms in the short term, we should stop the medication. If they have any history of any type of pancreatitis or pancreas issues, we don't prescribe the medication.
Yeah.
That's what we're really concerned about. And then we're encouraging our patients. We know another TikTok fever pitch thing right now is fiber maxing and things like that.
Yeah.
Fiber is important just for your general health, for your microbiome, which is the bacteria in your gut, for inflammation, for potential for brain health. So we're recommending, this is another reason to be taking an adequate amount of fiber, if not more, when you're on it. So,
right, just a little extra.
Yeah. So we should be pre-screening patients ahead of time to see if they have any history of issues, and if somebody has severe side effects, we just explain this is not the medicine for you. That we do have other options now that can hopefully get you what your goals are.
Right.
It may not be as easy or as perfect, but again, there's everything we don't want. Our goal is not to hurt people. Our goal is to help people achieve health and their goals.
Yeah, totally. Do we know? I mean, you said that we've been using GLP-1s and other semaglutides for diabetes for like 15 plus years maybe now. Do we know anything about the long-term health impact, like kind of overall? Is it like everyone's saying it's like a miracle drug, it fixes your migraines, it does this and that? Is that the case, or are we seeing long-term issues with like whether it's longevity or fertility? Like, do we know any of that yet?
It's split. What I mean by that is obviously we know the benefits in terms of blood sugar and diabetes. We know the benefits in terms of weight loss. We now know the benefits in terms of heart health. That's been well established now. And
it's good for your heart health.
Yeah, because now they just came out, the American Heart Association just came out saying anybody post-stroke or any risk should be going home on these medications because it helps reduce the risk again and the side effects of the stroke. So that's kind of it's starting to become ingrained in other things. So heart health, blood pressure, those are in the perfect complete bucket.
Wow.
Now the things that like fertility is just started to be studied. We're now just trying to see the tip of the iceberg in terms of joint pain, arthritis. We now know that it may protect cartilage. So I mean, I've had a lot of patients, and other docs have too, where they go on a low dose GLP-1 and their pain goes away almost some percentage, 25, 50, 75%. And they've now found that it does not only between the weight loss and the in terms of the and the insulin regulation, but also it helps protect cartilage.
Wow.
So the next big three things that we're going to really wait on are joint pain and arthritis. Fertility has become a really big topic. Brain health and now Alzheimer's, because we have seen a lot of patients have decrease of the neurodegenerative chemicals that we see in Alzheimer's and other issues. And the other one, which is kind of again a big TikTok comment, is autoimmune issues. That we're just starting those are the studies that are now coming secondarily. And the other things that they're now all approved for, sleep apnea, which is patients who snore and don't get good oxygen while they're sleeping, and that leads to heart disease, weight gain on its own. It's already been approved for sleep apnea. It's already been approved for liver disease, so what's called fatty liver. That's already been approved. So there's 5 or 6 or 7 things that it works. We already know it's already checked off, and there's now 3 or 4 really hot topics we're seeing. And then again, we're early for migraine, something called mast cell activation syndrome, which is the cells in your body that produce histamine, which is the allergy chemical. And we're seeing that more and more. And I've seen patients who have mast cell issues, and like the next day, their symptoms have diminished. Migraines, we're starting to see that as well.
Wow.
So, but we need more full studies. But it's kind of a very weird situation. So many people are on these meds. And when you see something 10, 15, 20 times with patients, you kind of know it's good. But then the larger community says, well, prove it to me. And that's kind of where we are. And it's kind of like that'll take 10 years and $10 million. So it's a very interesting war we're having, and we'll see where it ends up.
It is. That's so interesting because it seems too good to be true. Like it's doing all of these issues, and it even sounds like it could be really good for people as they get older, right? With like Alzheimer's, dementia, joint pain, arthritis, that kind of stuff. One of the things that I do when I research these episodes and like develop questions for my doctors is I try to understand the human experience with these drugs, not just from the studies and the research and the magazine articles, but I go to places like Reddit and TikTok where people are speaking on their experiences. And I just want to raise this and see what you think about it. I read let me see if I can find it. I wrote it in here to reference. I read about a guy who had, this was posted on Reddit by like a nurse or doctor or something who, I don't know if they work in the ER or I guess the ICU. This guy came in, he had sleep apnea, wasn't wearing his CPAP machine, and not just once, like I think history of sleep apnea and not wearing the CPAP machine. And so he had both the delayed stomach emptying and the microaspiration at once. And it led to like sepsis and a stay in the ICU and multiple days in the hospital. So I guess my question, and that's just one experience of one person, but it kind of raised the question for me, like, are there underlying conditions that exist where you wouldn't put someone on a GLP-1 because of that underlying condition and like maybe a confluence of events that leads to a risk?
Yes, and kind of.
Okay.
So there are some patients that, again, especially if they have any history of thyroid cancer with a risk that's kind of been disproven but still there in the literature. If they have an issue with slow stomach emptying or pancreas issues, that's pretty much a no-go at this point.
So if they have a history of that already.
I tend not to. I'm a little more cautious than some docs. Some docs will just say fine, and then whatever. And then a patient like you're kind of describing who's non-compliant, sounds like potentially are non-compliant. Again, this is sort of
conjecture based on,
but that's, to me, is a red flag. That's not the patients I tend to see. I have very motivated patients who are coming to see me. But if that's somebody who's trying to be it as a Band-Aid, you either want to go very, very slow with them and monitoring, checking on them very, very frequently. If you want to think it's something that's going to help them. And if they're not doing that, then you just say, no, you're not doing it. But there are, so that's kind of the patient. I mean, it's somebody who's sedentary, can't exercise. It just may not be the right patient, the right medicine for them in the short term right now. So again, and also like any other field, you kind of, when you see somebody, you can, if you're doing it for 20 years, you can size somebody up and understand where they're coming from and what their motivation and their mindsets are. And you say, look, this just doesn't sound right. No, but there are definitely people that we don't use it with. And again, that's you have to do that. Because it's not like any medicine has people, again, I think every medicine that you have and you get from the pharmacy has side effects. Antibiotics, steroids, reflux medication has probably almost as many side effects as these do. But people harp on the GLP-1s. But again, this medicine is not meant for everybody.
Right. Good point. Good point. One thing that I see a lot now is like an MB1 supplement, like a capsule that people can take. I guess I have kind of a two-part question. What's the difference between the GLP-1, the GIP, and MB1? And also, like, are these supplements effective or are they kind of BS?
Okay. How to answer that question politically correctly at the same time. So now we have kind of 2.5 categories. We have the supplements that are supposedly simulate GLP-1. They're like berberine, which is the quote unquote natural GLP-1. It's about 1%, 10%, 2% of that. And that's what they are. They're very mini reproductions of the meds. They have less side effects in most cases, even though berberine can upset your stomach as well. And some people, they're cheaper, they're less effective. I have patients who've done very well on those, but they understand that going in. They're now kind of a category you're talking about, which are lab synthesized GLP-1s that are not as strong as the prescription meds, and they are literally coming out of the last 6 months or so. I'm actually, right after we finish this, having a conference call with one of them to see what it is and get more data. And we've seen decent success with that, not to the level of the prescription ones. But they have more potential to be really good for the patient either weaning off or don't want to do the injections or don't want to do the stronger ones. There's great potential for that. We just need more data. But I do put my patients on them. With transparency of what they are and what they're not. And some people love the pill form. And there's right now, the main point is there's right now no great pill form of these meds. That'll change next year. But right now there's no great pill form of these. And not everybody's, I'm going to give myself a shot every week.
I'll tell you what, I'm not giving myself a shot unless it's like dire straits.
That's the thing is that there are people who will not. I mean, I feel like 3 people come to my office every week for their shot because they're like, there's no way.
They won't do it themselves. That's me. I get like a little skeeved out about that.
So that's where we are.
And when you say that will probably change next year, just because the demand is crazy, they're trying to develop a lot of different methodology, like ways to take the drug so that it's more appealing.
There's 2 things that are coming down the pipe really quick. Is the more advanced injections that do more things in one pill. Injection. We had 2 pills. Now we have 1 pill coming out, which does have a combination of the fact that it's a pill and also the fact that it does more things.
Okay. And what are the other things that the new injection and the new pill will do in addition?
Some work on the glucagon receptor to help, and also work on, again, better with liver health and lowering cholesterol. Another part that they're adding to both the pills and the injections are things that help prevent the muscle loss. So some was working on increasing your growth hormone to build muscle. One is working on what's called a myostatin inhibitor, which is myostatin that helps you build, limits how much muscle you can build. So if you block it, you can technically build more muscle. So there's a lot of now, that's kind of the big buzzword, is how can we add something to the pills and injections to limit that muscle, which is still the big,
the side effect,
the big red flag for some people. So that's kind of where we're heading, and that'll be out probably from next year till like 28.
Wow.
And then at that point, there'll be less and less, I think.
Yeah. It feels like it's moving really fast.
It's where the money is. And,
it is.
And it helps. In this case, it helps. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that's funny. Because at first it bothered me. I was like, that's scary. Like, people are so worried about vaccines, but they're real quick to go on this shot that makes them lose weight, where like it's pretty new for weight loss. But I guess to your point, like, it's actually not that new.
It's not that new. And I think initially it was like, okay, this is the cool, easy weight loss shot.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing just over the last 6 months to a year, oh, wait, it fixes other seven other problems. It's kind of, oh, it's okay now. It's kind of like, it's kind of like taking that stigma away from it to a certain extent.
I agree. Like, when it was just for weight loss, I think there was a lot more judgment. And like, I'm not proud to say that I was kind of like, I had indignation about it. I was like, I work out 5 times a week. Like, I lift weights. I eat so healthy on purpose to do this. And I think I had like a little bit of resentment, and I was trying to unpack it. Like, I'm not proud of it. Like I said, it's funny because I would never say like someone shouldn't get a nose job because like they're unhappy with their appearance. Like, do your thing, right? So I don't really know kind of where that comes from. And I think a lot of people have that. And so I'm trying to, part of why I want to learn more about it is to dismantle that in my brain, right? Because like, why is it that it bothered me when it's just weight loss, but then when it starts being like, oh, well, it might be good for your brain and it might be good for cartilage, then I'm like, okay, like, there goes the stigma. Like, what stigma?
I mean, the part is, and again, we know the dramatic effects on people who are overweight and I mean, early heart disease, early lung disease, high blood pressure, all that stuff. So that part is fine. It's the people, again, the people who just were kind of use it kind of like
10 pounds.
The sneak attack type of thing.
Totally. I'm interested in who should, I mean, obviously this will be a little bit of a generalization because we're not speaking directly to specific individual patients, but I'm curious, like, who is a good candidate for GLP-1 and like for what kind of weight loss? Like, I have people in my DMs who were like, I'm 55 years old. I've been trying to lose 20 pounds for like 30 years. I eat healthy. I work out. It's just stubborn for whatever reason. I want to take it. Then you hear people who, like, to our point earlier, who might not be the best candidate, which is what I'm learning based on our conversation, who just like don't want to do, they're just lazy about it. They don't want to do the exercise and diet, and they just want something quick that'll like fix their problem before they go on this vacation. And then I have people who are like, I'm getting married in a month and I just have this spot right over my belly button. That's the only thing I've got. I want to get rid of it. Like, are all of those people good candidates for this? I mean, I imagine you can't target the weight loss the same way you can't on a treadmill target where the weight comes from.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to think how to. So a lot of different parts to that. So really, kind of the simple way to organize it is, I try in most cases, if patients are not or looking for less than double-digit weight loss, it's a very fine conversation. I tend to I'll go very low dose or microdose with patients, which is still controversial in the traditional endocrine space, but again, it's also the right candidate. I mean, I know they go through. I've seen them before. Or I know they have the lifestyle piece lying down.
Yeah.
So that's to the place, or they have another health issue,
right, that
we can tag team or triple team by dealing with that. They have mast cell, or they have migraines, or whatever it happens to be. In terms of the location, in terms of like, I have a little bit of belly fat, or I have the fat underneath my arm, whatever they're that it's not really meant for, and I don't usually do it. There's a lot of other things now out there, both from the plastic surgeon perspective, which again is another debate for another day.
Right.
There are things called peptides that people have used, other medications. There's a lot of things that we can do now that we couldn't do even 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So that is not the right thing for you.
Yeah.
So, and again, or anybody has those side effects, or anybody who's just not motivated or just not a good candidate.
Right.
again, I've learned how to kind of, like a chef who can create 8 different recipes for 8 different people at his table.
Right.
I can create what's going to work well for you, your best friend, and for you, I'm going to give you something totally different, the vegetarian meal.
Yeah.
No, that's not meant, whatever, but, but just something different. And but again, it's meant for overall body weight loss. It's meant for overall health.
Yeah.
And it's even better if it's checking off. I love meds or supplements that, no matter what I'm treating, if it checks off 5 boxes as opposed to being on 5 things that check off 1 box.
Amazing.
That's the way it should go.
Yeah, I feel like that's every doctor's absolute dream. So that's interesting because what I hear a lot is like, I think especially because my audience is the type of audience they are, where like all of us we work out, we are motivated in our lifestyles to do healthy things. We are eating the right way. We're doing all the things. And so I hear sometimes people being like, I have 5 pounds that I'd love to get rid of. And there's nothing I have done in my entire life. I've tried all these different things. And I have just that spot around my belly button I want to get rid of. And I'm thinking of doing like 1 month of Ozempic to get rid of it. It sounds like that might not, I don't know. I mean, it would depend on the person.
It depends on the person. What I do with those types of patients is I'll do a full lab panel.
Okay.
Again, if sometimes they show up insulin resistant, which means they may have PCOS or they just may be insulin resistant.
Right, there might be something underlying.
And they're like, ooh, light bulb. Okay, yes. Even though they want to lose 5 pounds, it's going to help with their insulin resistance, which is what the med does anyway, and they're going to lose their weight.
Great, do it.
Check.
Yeah.
If I find something else, if like their thyroid, I'm not going to give them the medication. So.
But then you can fix the thyroid.
Exactly.
Then.
So it's not just here's the med, it's doing the exam, listening to their story. And usually for patients, I check like a full hormone panel and everything else to see is there either something that goes along with the story or something that says, no, you have this autoimmune condition, we got to fix this first.
Right.
So again, it's not, you go to a doctor who just hands out it like you're handing out Halloween candy. Right. That's not the right doctor to be dealing with in most cases.
Yeah, that we kind of stay far away from those doctors in any case. I have a good friend of mine who does my Botox, which is also like why I'm a hypocrite for initially having resentment for the GLP-1 people, right? But my doctor, he's a double board certified plastic surgeon, all this stuff. And he always says, like, if your doctor's pushing Botox on you and then it's like, oh, you should do a lip filler. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. He's like, that's not the right person to work with. Like it shouldn't be like that. Something that we talked about a little bit earlier is that these products, the price of them has been driven down a little bit just by supply and demand. But there are people out there, I guess, or were, and maybe now it's harder, I'm not sure, who get it covered by insurance. Like under what circumstances is this covered by insurance? And then also, I read something online where it's like, oh, the prices are going to go up or down in 2026 because licenses are expiring and laws are like whatever. Can you explain that?
As much as I can, yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the pricing, if you have type 2 diabetes, easy peasy. In most cases, if you failed one other medication, usually.
Okay.
There's usually what we call step ladder. You have to kind of do some steps first. They want you on generic meds before you go on the expensive meds. That's
see if it works.
How everything works in medicine, which is most cases good. If you have, again, like the major medical conditions, if you have sleep apnea, it's covered. If you have fatty liver, it's covered. That's the easy part. When it comes onto the weight side, there's some insurances that will not pay for, including Medicare. Okay. No matter what you do. Other now will have, and I always defer them to their insurance website because now almost every insurance will have it on their first page because they don't want to deal with the questions every 5 minutes.
It. Yeah.
Some will say, have they tried, how much overweight are they, what their BMI is, which is annoying because we know it's not really a real measure of fat.
Right.
But what your BMI is, how much weight do they have to lose, what have they tried?
Right, like do they qualify for like morbid obesity, for example?
They will not get, if you're 7 pounds overweight, you're not getting it covered.
Right.
So that depends. I'm seeing it less and less covered for obesity now, especially now with the company Eli Lilly has come out with the vials, which are a much better price point. That I've seen less and less covered unless you have really good insurance. Yeah. Covered for on the weight loss side, on the obesity side. And that the prices will actually, from what I've heard, the prices should go down to the older school ones. Okay. Because it's like with the new big boys come out, there's more demand for that. They're going to want to compete. Right. And there's also, I mean, not this in theory, the government is saying they're trying to not subsidize, but lower the price in general because medicines are helpful for overall health. Right. We'll see what happens. Totally. That's a lot of big boy politics way above my head. I think the price overall will probably come down for most of the things. The new ones that are coming out in 26 as we're filming it will be sky high probably because the demand is insane for them right now.
Yeah.
I've never seen where I get asked about meds that aren't even coming out yet.
Right. Like that is crazy. Like that people even know what medicine is being developed before
and
it's publicized.
And the top of the search, I'm like, and it's like, I mean, it's good that people are aware, but it's just, I'm really like, people are going down that rabbit hole. But so that's kind of where we're heading, I think.
Yeah.
But they're never going to be $10 for a long time.
Right.
But also your last thing I'll say is you have like these major companies like Hers and Hims and Roe that are striking these deals with the companies that to their clientele, they get a discount. And that's becoming more and more common as well. So people can make those networking to make their brand stand out. So I think overall the prices are going to come down. Yeah,
that's so interesting. I have one last question for you because we're coming up on time, but I guess if you're going to pursue a GLP-1 or a GIP or some of these new drugs, whatever, can you just rattle off some of the best practices or like things to know, things to keep in mind so that you're using them in the way that is best and healthiest?
Yeah, sure. Definitely, it's not, like we said numerous times, it's not a cheat. It's an add-on to a healthy lifestyle. Nothing better than exercise, sleep, appropriate diet, no matter what. Number 2 is, again, make sure the doctor is explaining to you the risk and benefit. And I tell everybody, I have a little sheet, I say, okay, you need to make sure you're doing 60 minutes of working, weight training, this protein, so on and so forth. And then number 3, make sure that they're not just, okay, this week you're going to go on 2.5, this week you're going to go on 5. Make sure they're developing a plan for you. Yeah. Because like we said, the woman who wants to lose certain weight or is on it for a health issue is not the person who needs to lose 75 pounds. Yeah. If it's a cookie cutter program, they just give you a sheet and say, okay, great, you need it, here you go. You run the other way and say it's time to find another doctor. Those are kind of the big things. And understand this is not a perfect medication. There are side effects. It doesn't work perfectly for everybody. Right. And it has to be aware. I mean, if you're the person who has the bad side effects, 100%. Yeah. But in most cases, if you're working with a doctor who knows what they're doing and you're a candidate, you should have hopefully a successful journey. Amazing. Doctor, thank you so much. This was so interesting and so helpful. And I'm going to go invest in whatever's the next version of Ozempic right now. Go for it now. Yes. Yeah, now's the time. Thanks, guys, for listening. I'll see you next time.